Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Pyware Night School. We're doing another Pyware Q A. Welcome in. Hope everyone's having a wonderful evening. Um, let's just start out. And what questions do we have today? I know we've had a couple of questions about doing some um, visuals. I think we're going to do a whole session on that next week as well. So hope everyone's taking this time that, since we're all kind of hidden and hiding and watching and staying safe, some learning some new things. I know that we've been enjoying doing the night schools and our master classes. So good evening. All right. Well, what do we have for questions as of today? Morph, 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 morph. And we have GIMP. Okay, we can walk through all of that. Let's start out with the morph. Okay. So the morph itself is a very versatile tool. Let's actually just plot out a arc right quick. All right, so we have our form. We can then click our morph function. By default, morph is going to bring up a handle for each performer. Okay, so I can actually click on any of these handles and drag them, and it's going to create a form based on those editing handles. Okay, you can turn a curved shape on or off, so it can be a straight line form or not. You can hold down your shift key to add or remove handles. So right now I'm holding my shift key and clicking on the red editing handle. Let me slide those a little bit larger so you can see them easier. So I can click on any of these handles, and what it's going to do is it's going to remove that handle and evenly space the performers along this pathway. One nifty thing is if you just click your left mouse and drag a selection box over it, it actually removes all handles except for the first and the last. So basically what Kevin was talking about last night is he kind of just builds a form and kind of pushes it into a different location and uses the morph tool to kind of just push it and modify it into a shape that he would want. So as you can see, I wanted to modify a little bit more. I can hold my shift key and add a handle on here to click and modify it. Let's see here. Looks like Kevin may be in here with us. There we go. All right. So let's take a look here. Benji, is that kind of a good basis on how that tool works? Is there something that you'd like to see in regards to that? Really, it's kind of a catch-all tool that can actually create the transition for you. Okay, perfect. One other good thing about that is actually, let's say I have a drum line. Let's do a interval here. Let's do 4 positions at a 2, 4 positions at a 3, and then 4 positions. If I can actually do it, 4 positions at a 4-step interval. Okay. All right. So I've got my mixed interval here. I can actually take that form that I've created with my mixed interval. I can open up my morph tool, and I'm going to choose lock intervals. So actually, I can come in and create a curved form with that mixed interval just using the morph tool itself. And I have my relocation handle that I can come and rotate it at any location. but that gives me the ability to maintain that mixed interval for my drum line and still utilize the morph tool itself. Okay. Thank you, Benji. Cottrell, I'll touch on GIMP here in a moment. Let me run through a couple other things here. Let's see. All right. Seeing a trend in the area of adding dance groups to the field. I'm having a hard time staging them and not having them steal the show from the guard. That might be a Kevin question or any other designers. Let's see. All right. Jeremy has a question about regroup all and group like secondary shortcuts. So at this point in time, the buttons inside of this window are not able to be mapped to shortcuts. What we've done currently is added the ability to use your matching options. So these options here can be mapped, but it is on our request list to have the shortcuts to be able to map inside of the knife glue tool. That's not something that's currently available though. Okay. Jesus asks about the professional. I know a lot of designers here use the professional. It gives you a third installation. It also adds in all of our plugins. We have the traditional tools for doing military traditional style maneuvers, your floor covers for inserting images beneath the design grid. You have the drill book option. All right, let's see here. Print personalized drill books. And so you have your print drill books option, which is a plugin that's included in professional. And then you also have the spiral drawing tool, which allows you to create a nice fluid spiral very easily. You can enter the number of loops, the interval, 3 or 4 step interval here. It's great if you want to use it for guard, putting them in a spiral. You can flip that. So that's the new tools that are in the professional that would be outside of the basic. Let's see. We have, okay, let's take a look real quick at GIMP. I'll do a real quick overview on how to utilize GIMP to do a uniform. We had a question about that, so I'll do a quick run through that right quick. We had a question. When you set up the mixed interval, I can't see where you're clicking to get the window. Okay, so there is a button. Let me pull up my line tool while we're waiting on GIMP to open. There's a button here that looks like 2 X's and a line underneath. This was added in version 9. If you have a prior version, if you hold down your Alt key and click on this, it would bring up this same window. We had mapped it to a button here. It was a little more obvious for people to see. You can also type in the interval here without actually going into that second area. So we have 4 people at a 2-step, 4 people by 2, 4 people by 3, and then 4 people by 5. And that builds it out for you as well. Okay. All right. So we have, let me shoot y'all a link right quick so you can have the downloads for it. We did do a session with Jesse, a masterclass with Jesse, our 3D artist, recently. He had also developed some new templates, and we've uploaded them to our Google Drive. Let's see here. Get that link for you real quick. All right. Okay, and that has all of the assets that we have available currently. All right, let's pull GIMP up here. All right, I have our GIMP file. We'll open our uniform template with ethnicities here. Okay, so we have, can everybody see everything okay? I've got it blown up a little bit here so you can see the resolution a little bit easier. Perfect. And Jerry, for that form you just morphed, make sure that you have your curve option either checked or unchecked. You may have a couple of handles right next to each other and you're on a curved shape and it's looping through those two handles. Okay, so let's take a real quick crash course here. I've got a couple of uniform colors that I've already created before. I'm just going to make sure that those are turned off here. So I've got my uniform cloth texture here. I've got my ethnicities, which gives me the ability to toggle on and off the different ethnicity faces and hands. I have my part outlines, which are going to give me my outlines for the actual fabric. And I've got my section labels here. All righty. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new layer that I can actually create my texture color on. So we've got our Pyware Night School uniform. All right. So we've got my layer that I can put my color on. The first thing I'm going to do is I can go to my paths section. Okay, we have several different paths in here. So I'm just going to grab my upper torso. I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to choose path to selection. As you can see here, that has created a outline of the arms, the chest, the neck that will allow me to paint in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have this be a red. So my upper body is going to be red. I'm going to do the same thing for my back. I'm going to do right click and choose path to selection. I'm going to do my bucket fill here. So now I have my upper body in my red. And as you can see here, I've got my layer selected for my night school uniform. All right, I'm going to select my legs layer, do path to selection. I'm going to have black pants. I'm going to repeat the same for my feet. Let me just scroll to feet. Path to selection. I'm going to fill my feet. Okay, and then I want to have gloves. So I'm going to locate my hands. Where were they at? Hands. Okay, and path to selection. And I'm going to do a white glove. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So what I'm going to do is pull this just above my face layer so it overlays. Nope. Nope. I'm going to leave that right back where it was. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to turn off my hands, my bare hands. Okay. So now I have my uniform. Let's say I wanted to kind of put a logo on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my logo. Let me grab my Pyware logo right quick. And we can drop that on there. Okay, Pyware Marcher, let's drop this in here. Okay, we're gonna convert it. All right, so I've got my Pi guy here. I'm going to scale him. This is scale. Click in the scale. Oh, undo. Reset. I really need to select none. Okay, now I'm going to scale. And shift him into position. Okay. We got him scaled to my size, and I'm going to use my rotate and kind of rotate him to be aligned in the center of the chest. So I like that. Let me turn off my labels and my overlay. So now, as you can see, I have my uniform created with my Pyware logo on there. At that point in time, I'm going to export it out to 3D. I'm going to choose File, Export. I'm going to save it into my documents, Pyware 3D, and Fabric. We're going to call this Pyware Night School Q&A. Q&A uniform. All right. .png, because we want it to be a PNG file. Save it. We're going to accept the defaults here. All right. And let's do a real quick jump back over here and show how we load it into 3D. Okay. I'm going to go to my document options under the file menu. Real view perspective. I'm going to choose my mail marcher here. I'm going to locate my Pyware Night School Q&A uniform. There we go. Accept this. And it's going to pull that into our drill file. Okay, and now as you see, we have our new Pyware uniform. All right. Cottrell, I hope that answers your question there. Okay. Let's skim back through this here. All righty. Okay, Cottrell, the export, let me jump back over there. So you go to File, choose Export, and it's going to prompt you for a file name. For this particular one, it's already saved in there. And choose the location of documents, Pyware 3D, Fabric, enter the file name that you want, ending in .png, and then export. And that'll pull it up for you. Okay. Good deal. Okay, so we have, looks like, some questions on the stagger tool. We can take a look at that. Right, let's jump over there right quick. Alrighty. Okay, zoom back out here. Okay, let's delete these performers and start out. Let's say a small curve here. All right, so let's say we wanted this to split into, or just push back for now. Okay. So we have 16 counts to create this. We can actually use our stagger tool. Let's say our new version of the stagger tool allows you to do it by group size. So let's say I want to stagger, got 44 people here. Let's say stagger in groups of 11 every 2 counts. Okay, so what that's going to do is it's going to start at this end. Okay, and it's going to grab my groups of 11 and stagger them, step off, and arrive at the same time. I can also enter a duration. Let's say I want them to take, let's say, 10 counts to arrive, and then it's going to move them to where they are arriving in 10 counts. Same thing for drop off. If I want to do a 2-step drop off, we're not going to be able to do that in our steps. Let's do this. 1 and 1. See if we can't get that going. Now we're out of, don't have enough counts in order to do that. So let us change our count structure right quick. So what I'm going to do is I'll just use my morph tool to refloat it over this transition. Okay. Revert. And actually use this and shift it back a little bit further here. All right. Use my stagger function once more. Every 2. Every 2. And a group size of 11. And here we go. All right. This should be working here. Maybe not with that group size. Duration of 10. Like my beta version is slightly broken, so I can't demo that with that particular section there. Okay. You can also do by segment. So let's reset this to have different segments. So let's say I want to do pods, groups of 5. I'm going to clone this out linearly. So I've got my pods here. Okay. I can create a transition here. Use my track tool, create a little curved pathway here. And then I can use my stagger tool to stagger by group segment every 2 counts. Say I want them to take 28 counts to get there. And I'm able to stagger by group now as well. Roland, does that answer your question? All right. Let's take a look here. Michael asked, can you do a stagger tool to do every 3rd or 5th person to step off? What you would do for that, you would have to group them a little bit different. So you can group, or you can choose a leader by segment, so I can actually have different leaders in each form selected. Okay, and then that's going to then step off for that particular person. Now, if you're wanting to do, let's come back to a different form here. So if I have my line created here, if you want to do first, third, fifth, what you would need to do is come in and let's cut this into an A-B pattern. So I'll actually have two forms. So I am grouped first, third, fifth, my odds. Okay, what I can do then is create a transition here. Okay. This way, I'm going to select my first group and choose to stagger. Okay, so I'm going to have my first stepping off every count. Okay, and say a duration of 28 counts as well. Okay, and then I'm going to select my second line here, and I'm going to have them step off every 2 counts. But I'm going to have them to take 24 counts to get there. Okay, so now you get the different types of transitions. Perfect. All right. For Jerry, if you're doing by groups, they don't have to be the same size. If you're doing the option for group by segment, basically what you can do is you can have any number of people in there. So let us create a couple of different options here. So let's say I do my 5. I'm going to clone that one 3 times. Have that spread out here. And then what I'm going to do is have this be 10. 2 times. Put this in between them. Okay, so now we have these shapes. I can then use my, let's shift them over the range of counts. Create my transition and do my stagger. I can do group by segment, do every 2 counts. Again, take 20 or so counts to get there. And now so the way it's doing it is because these 4 are essentially grouped together. Okay, so if you wanted to adjust how that is ordered, I can come in and create a real quick grouping change. Say I wanted to do this. Okay, and just cut those back apart. All right, so now these are grouped linearly from this end. This group is first and this group is last. All right, so now I have my stagger. I'm actually wanting the group to lead off every 2 counts, 20 counts by segment, and now it's going to move them off linearly. Jerry, does that answer your question? Perfect. All right. We've had a lot of comments here. Let's filter through some of these real quick. All right. take a look-see here. Follow the leader tool. All right. I get stuck with follow leader tool. It does not come out right. Let's take a look at the follow leader tool. Okay. So the follow leader tool can be used a couple of different ways. Say I've got just a line here. Okay. So I can select my group here. Now you have your leader highlighted as green, your ending performer highlighted as red. That can be changed in your document options. I'm sorry, application options. So when I click on my follow leader, it's going to be identified by the green dot. I can click on that to flip the leader to go to the opposite end. So the first way of using the follow leader function is just by clicking and creating your pathway. You can click on the handles to adjust the pathway as you want it. Okay. You can also hold your shift key to remove handles or add handles to create the transition you're looking for. Okay. So let's say we're looking for something like this. It creates the follow leader in the pathway that you've created. Now, let's say you also wanted to change the interval of the form you are going into. We can do that as well. Or let's say I want to actually draw out a perfect arc to go into, or a perfect particular form to go into. We can also do that. So what you do first is create the new form. Let's say I'm going to go into an arc. I'm going to create my arc here. Okay. What I want to do is I want to make sure my matching lines here match up to where it's going to end up where the performers need to be following the leader through. So as you can see here, my tail person is this person here, my lead person is here, which is correct because when I have my form intact, that's how I want it to follow through that. So I'm going to put it into location and accept that. So right now it's just going to be a standard push maneuver, a straight line float. What I want to do is I want to apply a follow leader to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my follow leader tool. It does not select the correct leader, so I'm going to flip that. And now, as you see here, I have my arc, and I'm following the leader into that arc. And it follows that pathway. Okay. And the same thing would be if we wanted to adjust the interval here. Let's say I wanted to have a larger interval. Let's say a 3-step interval. Or even larger. I can create that form with a larger interval here. And then use my follow leader tool to apply that. Perfect. Flip my leader. And what it's going to do is over that transition, it's going to spread your interval as it's marching. Okay. All right, Jesus, thank you. Very good. All right, so it looks like we have a question on demonstrating how to have multiple tempos in the same set. Okay, so what you would do, let's delete our performers. Let's create a line here. Say 16. All right. Let's cut those into groups of 4. All right. And we're just going to push everybody over. Just say an 8 to 5. Okay, so now I have my first group. I can go to my visuals tool and I can go to my march style. I can say that I want to do, say, custom pace. I want to have one step every 2 counts, so half time for the back group. Okay, I want to say custom pace. Let's do a double time, 2 to 1. Okay, and then we can do a custom pace here and do, say, 4 steps to every 3 counts. And then let's say custom pace, 1 step to every 4 counts. All right. Now, what you're going to see in the real view here is actually spotlight a performer so you can see down the line a little bit easier. Okay. I'm going to turn on my ground camera, my third-person camera. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So now when I animate, as you can see, we have everybody taking different steps. That gives you the ability to adjust the pace for each of the performers. John, does that help you out on marching different tempos in the same transition? All right. Let's take a look here. Sometimes when I move a curve form, like a follow the leader and pushing at the same time, the form condenses and reopening. Okay, so if you're wanting to create a follow the leader and it's condensing, you have overwritten your follow the leader with a standard push. That's where we would come back in and recreate that transition. So let's delete those. Let's say we have our curve here, our arc. Okay. Actually, let's just copy and paste that. Rotate it a little bit. Okay. So let's say we were trying to create a follow the leader like so, and this is what we've done. We have done. Okay. So now when I create this animation, it's going to condense down and then go into our new form. So I can paste it here. At that point, I would want to apply my follow the leader. Whoop. Okay. And I'm going to flip my leader option. All right. Let's revert that right quick. Make sure our form is not degraded. And now I can do my follow leader, and it is going to create my follow leader and where it creates the interval the same. Michael, does that help on that transition where you're getting a condensing? All right. What other questions do we have? Making sure that I am not missing anything here. Okay, so let me walk through that one more time. So I have, let's create the transition. I have one arc here. I'm going to go into another arc here at my 2-step interval. Okay, so it's going to do my condensing maneuver, which is not exactly what we want, but I am in getting to the position I'm wanting and the end goal. So I'll go ahead and accept that, and I'm going to apply my follow the leader to it. And sometimes if you're overlapping, it does not like that, so we have the option to start, overlaps, finish. We can toggle that. That's going to try to reinterpolate the forms you have. So now I have that selected. I have my form completed. And now when I create my transition, it's nice and smooth. All right. Michael, does that help that transition out for you? All right. Perfect. Okay. I know there's a lot of chat happening right now. Is there something that I might have missed that we want to cover? I'm trying to jump back through the chat here. All right. Okay. Looks like we have some requests for some sketch files. I'll upload the sketch files that I have currently as well onto that drive file. We had a session with Mitch Rogers as well, and he had provided sketch files. Okay. And that Google Drive link is there. Add this file right quick. Alrighty. And Patty, you said you are creating an arc and it turned out to be a circle. What you need to be aware of is when you create your arc, you're plotting the two endpoints of the arc first. So if you plot them together like you're trying to draw your arc out, it will be more of a circle. So what you want to do is plot your two endpoints, and then you're plotting the depth of your arc. So try plotting those together and then moving the third point a little bit slower. All right. There we go. Here's sketch file. Those are some sketch files that we have created. I'll share those to everybody. Okay, so the sketch libraries you're able to pull into any file that you're working with. So let's say I have, or let me walk through this right quick for you, Patty. So most likely what you have done is you did your two endpoints and you did a third here. So that looks like a circle, okay? What you want to do is you want to plot your two endpoints, and then you have the depth of your arc. If you find yourself doing something like this, that gives you your circle, you can just pull that back to the center and grab your end handle to make it look more like an arc. Okay. Let's walk through that little sketch file that we sent. Okay, so here trios, one of the file, or let's do triangles staggered. So this is one of the ones that we just shared. Okay, so I can actually see the triangles that I have in this file, and they're grouped a couple of different ways, so you can actually have them spread out. So let's say I want a 36 point triangle. I'm going to go ahead and use this on count 0. So now I have my sketch file, or my sketch here. I can then apply performers. At this point, I don't actually have performers in my drill. I'm going to add them. I can select the performers that I'm wanting. I select my sketch application tool, my sketch tool, and what that's going to do is it's going to automatically apply that to the form. Since it's a filled form, I'm going to choose the option to sketch points to places. What that's going to do is it's going to place my performers exactly on my sketch points. So once I accept that, I now have my triangle filled. Okay, so because of the way it's grouped, I can actually pull this out into a nice form. So I wanted to pull it out into an arc very easily, and it's just going to unmesh. Animate that right quick. So now my triangle unmeshes into my arc. And that's kind of a quick way of adding that. Sean, are you on version 10? The sketch function is in version 10 only. Looks like I have a black screen. Let me restart that sharing. See if that's better for you. Yeah, Sean, that was a function that was added in version 10 to give you more flexibility in creating shapes that you can reuse later. Okay. Let's take a look here. All right. We have a question from Jeff. How do I write a form on side 1 and get the exact mirror on side 2? Well, there are a couple of different ways of doing that. Let's start square one again. We have the first way of doing that. Let's say I've got a curve here. I'm going to create my curve. All right, I've got this on the left side of the 50. I can choose my clone option. I can choose 1. And what that's going to do is it's going to clone it across my midpoint, which is automatically set on the 50. So I can actually kind of tweak it, make it however I want it to be. And that gives me the ability to have that mirrored across the 50. Okay, and I accept my form. Let's say I did not do it that way. All right, let's say, okay, I want to draw a heart, but I only do it in a section first. Okay, so I've got my left side of my heart created. I like it. Awesome. Now what I want to do is mirror that across the 50. So I'm going to select my form. I'm going to choose copy. And I'm going to choose paste performers. It's going to paste it on top of my performers that I have currently, but I have mirroring options here. And I'm going to choose my option to invert across mid-stage. So as you can see here, it's going to flip that across the 50, and now I have the other half of my heart. I can then paste that, and now I have my completed heart here. So that is another way of pasting it across. Jeff, does that answer your question about mirroring? But then it's not mirrored if I add a point on the 50. Add a point on the 50. There we go. Okay. So if you want to use them again and create the next set, okay, so I'm going to remove my one person to make it even. Let's come in and I'm going to have a 16 count transition where let's say we are pulling that out into a different shape. I don't know. I can do one of two things. I can select my entire group. So I have 44 total positions, but I only want to use half of them. So I'm going to type in 22, and then I'm going to mirror that. So that clones this across the 50 here, and I can maneuver it to however I want. So I split my heart out into two arcs. Oh, let's actually create a transition here. 22 performers cloned once. It's going to clone across the 50. Clear my matching order. I'm going to use my predict next option. Nope. 1, 2, there we go. Nope, back. Just like this. Perfect. Okay, I've got my performers matched now. And now I have my transition that are mirrored. Again, we can do it the same way as we did before. Let's say I wanted to design one side. Okay, so I have created my first side that I'm wanting. I accept that. I select my form, copy it, select my other half. I'm going to paste. And I'm going to mirror this across mid-stage. So now I have my matching form across the 50, and my heart unfolds into a very bad transition to my curve, but it is mirrored across the 50. All right, let's see here. Jeff, does that answer your question there? Perfect. Okay, so let's follow this here. Scott asks, what is your experience in marching arts and how did I get involved in Pyware? I have zero experience in the marching arts. I was never in band. I was never in music. I was only ever a computer geek, as it were. A lot of you may not know this, but I am part of the Pyware family, literally. Mr. Pi is my uncle. I've been here since I was in high school, and I started in 98. I've been here since 1998, so what, 22 years now? I started answering the phones and filing, and now here we are. Just worked my way up. So let's see. We have, Patty has, so you do use the arc tool, then the curve tool. I mean, Patty, you can use any tool that you want back to back to create mirrored options. So I like the curve and the arc tool for examples. So you'll see me going to that a lot easier. Let's see. Did we miss any questions? Do we have any questions that haven't been answered? I know a lot of people have been chatting in our chat here, so. John, I'm glad that you like the new options. Okay. Using the filled shape or the block tool. Okay. Well, we have the filled shape function, which used to be our old block tool. You can actually just draw an outline of a shape that you want to fill, and it will fill that. In version 10, we also added a neat little feature that will use this as a scatter option. So what you do is you enter the number of performers you want in there and the spacing that you want in between, and then it will scatter performers inside that bounding area. Okay, you can randomize that to get however you want. That's a new thing in version 10, where you're able to scatter inside that form. All right. But for, let's say we wanted to use this as a filled triangle, we can do that here. I can stagger to get my windows. All right. Just kind of fill it out to where I get my triangle that I want. Okay, that's at a 2 by 2. Let's say we move this to a 4-step interval. And we're able to create a filled shape, or if we're wanting to create a, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 5, 10, 15, 20 for a parallelogram. We're able to do that as well. Okay, and then we have our block tool, which allows us to create a nice block. It's rows and columns. Okay, so you can enter the number of rows and columns in the interval there, and that will create our filled shape here. Okay. Okay. Roland, does that give you different examples for the two different functions? Perfect. Yeah, I really like that scatter function because that was something that was requested for a long while. And I think that's a really good implementation because really you're able to just define an area that you want to scatter in between. Let's say I just want to do 100 performers. My scatter a 2-step spacing, so that will give you a nice scatter. So here's your opening scatter formation here. Except that let's just pull it now down into a block here. Got 100 performers in here. Put it down into a 10 by 10 block. Do my 10 by 10. Do my proximity match. And here we go. We just pull it down into our block. We have a couple of people here that were not an ideal transition. So we can actually flip these performers. Let's see here. We got this performer here. Those are the two that we're having problems with. All right. So what you can do here, we've got these performers. Identify where they're going. All right, so this may not be the best option for him. We want it to flip with this performer. So actually I flipped those performers now. Okay. We want these two out here to be swapped. Okay, so flip them. There we go, we're no longer crossing over. One here. Let's flip these two. There we go. So those are no longer crossing over either. One of these performers, let's flip these two. As you can see, I'm just using my scrubber to kind of tweak my transition here. There we go. That was not good. So that's close enough for our transition here. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, we do have requests for swag. We are working on that, as Amanda said. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Eddie asks, is matching less of a concern in modern drill writing? No. It's still you need to make sure that your transition works well. That's a Kevin question there. All right. Craig has a question. Curious. So the program decides where to move the performers. Does it do it in a set pattern? Okay. So basically, the way the proximity match works, it works on a greedy match. So essentially what we have is we have our starting positions and our ending positions. What it does is it has a mathematical formula that it walks through and lists all of the matching locations for each one. And what it's going to do is it's going to match the person that has the shortest path first. So once that match is created, then the starting position and the ending position is then removed from that list. At that point in time, it goes and matches the next closest performer. And it then pulls one from either side and then condenses that down and continues on until there's no other matches left. So that's why you will see that someone may not be taking what would be considered the optimal location because it was kind of left out to dry because someone else had a closer match to it. So hope that answers a little bit better. It's a greedy match. There is currently not an optimal match. That is kind of a nightmare for logic, as it were. We're looking at that as well, too. Okay. Let's take a look here. Are there any other questions that we want to cover? I think we might have gotten everybody's answered. I want to make sure that no one gets skipped over here. Thank y'all all for stopping by for the Q&A. I'm glad to have everybody here. And we'll do these more frequently. If everybody's having more questions, we'll maybe try to do a Q&A session once a month in the night school. We'll do some lead classes and we'll have a follow-up Q&A. So thank you very much for stopping by. It was wonderful. Thank you, Kevin, for answering more questions here tonight. We will see you next week. We're going to be having a UDB session with Stuart Schulman. That'll be on Monday. So keep an eye out for that. If you're not already signed up, go ahead and do so. And we will see y'all next time. Y'all have a wonderful evening and stay safe. Oh, and real quick, if you are registered for the the social distance challenge, that is due Monday. So be sure to turn those in. Have a great evening.